James here from Vivo, visiting with Ken at the Modus booth. Ken, thanks for having us. We're excited to talk about Modus and give a little insight into who you are, what you do, and what sets you apart. So if you don't mind, could you take a minute and kind of give us the overview? Who is Modus, what do you do, and what sets you apart from others?
Sure. So Modus is a real-time design platform built specifically for the AV industry. Okay, so when we look at traditional renders, they're great at helping everybody see the same thing, but they're way too slow, way too inefficient, way too cumbersome to really be useful in most projects. What people really need is a whiteboard-like tool that lets them quickly sketch out ideas, have a shared vision, and then move on. And so that's what you see in Modus here. This is a live environment. We've got Riley driving over here in the corner, but he's working on this conference room. Since this tool is built specifically for the AV industry, we can do so many things that help get everybody on the same page. For example, Riley, can you toss us into the view from that camera? So in this room, it's a team signature room, which if you're familiar with those, it's got an art table. Okay. But once we switch to the Jabra Panicast 50, we'll see that it straightens it out, which is a really interesting concept, which is kind of hard to imagine when you have a camera that straightens out a curved table.
Right.
But once your stakeholders can see it, they're now empowered to make decisions based on reality. They know what it's going to be like. And this becomes more applicable even as you have more complicated rooms. So let's say you've got an executive boardroom with 6 camera pairs, which is wild, but that's where the industry's headed.
Yeah.
As you're placing those cameras around the room, you want to dial them in. You want to know, hey, is this camera going to get a good view of each and every person? And we can now do that in minutes live instead of what might take weeks to do a proper camera study. So that way your stakeholders, even the non-technical ones, know exactly what they're going to get. They understand why it's worth investing for these things, and you can move on. Cameras are just one example. We can rapidly change display sizes. We can visualize microphone pickup patterns, obviously furniture, how that's going to fit in the room. All of those things come together, and when you can do it live, that results in fewer meetings, fewer revisions, and happier clients.
Yeah. So really, we're eliminating the idea of, okay, imagine this. I kind of talking to the theoretics, and we're like, okay, come on, let's hop on a call and envision what this room is going to look like.
Yeah.
The experience, auditory, right, visual, all aspects of it. And I love it too because you can easily, with this, move displays to different walls, right? Like you mentioned, do bigger displays, smaller ones, change out the camera, do this, do that, without actually having to have the equipment on site in your hands. So like you mentioned, right, the turnaround time on it, it's so much quicker.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to wait for that to get into it, to get into your office, install it, plug it in. You can just imagine, you just have it right there in real time.
Yeah. And you also avoid the worst possible scenario of we've installed it and now we don't like it.
Now we have to uninstall it, patch all the walls, undo everything we did.
Exactly. And so now you can dial in those screen sizes right away. And kind of a hidden benefit here that we don't talk about a lot is you can even try out bad ideas.
Okay.
Right? So a lot of times you might have a stakeholder that's kind of fallen in love with the concept that the integrator might know is not a great idea because they've seen it fail before.
Yep.
It's really hard to convince those clients sometimes. And the easiest thing is to say, all right, well, let's just let it play out. Let's see what happens if we do this. I think this display is going to be too small, but we'll try it anyway. And once they can see that, then they go, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
And now you've moved past it, right? It took 30 seconds out of the meeting, and now that idea is done. But maybe it also inspired another good idea along the way that you can follow through. So you end up with more bespoke creative solutions that are even a better fit for the client's needs, and it took less time. Right? It doesn't get better.
Yeah, it sparks great conversation, right? Gets that going. With Modus, right, you can play different displays, different cameras, different bars, all that. Do you work with any and all, I guess, manufacturers of the hardware that you can plug into these scenarios, into these scenes, or what is that?
Yeah.
Kind of, where are the limits there?
Yeah, we work with a lot of the big hitters in the industry, but there's always going to be some products or manufacturers that we don't have, just because we're not going to support products from 20 years ago, right? So we also have a lot of generic objects as well. Okay. So for any product category, we have a generic equivalent. So a simple case would be a table, right? We work with Salamander. We work with a lot of those different brands. We can bring in their products. We'll know exactly how well they fit, how they're going to look. But maybe we just need an odd-shaped table. Great. We can bring in a generic one. You can make it any size you want. that same philosophy carries over to cameras and microphones, you name it. So that way you can quickly toss in things you might say, well, I don't know if there's a camera out there that's going to do what we need, but let's figure out what field of view is going to work. So we'll toss in a generic camera, get all those specs dialed in, and then you can work backwards. Say, okay, great. Is there a manufacturer out there that can do this? Yeah. So it's a very different design philosophy that's also enabled.
Love that. I love that, right? Modus is the current and the future of, oh, we want to try it before we buy it. It's like, great, this is the perfect solution for that, right? It's a lot quicker, way more streamlined, and way better results because you can easily switch from a 75-inch display to 98-inch to 2 displays to 1 to a, you know, you can have all that just instantly, right? Just click of a button. Modus is the future of that. So if you're looking for a solution to try out different conference rooms before you buy them, or how they might look, or how they might, you know, how they might really come to pass, right? Hit up Modus. They will get you the perfect demo, get you introduced into this system, and let you get the perfect solution for your office and video conferencing spaces. Ken, thank you for your time.
Yeah,
we love Modus. We're excited for the future of what y'all have to bring, and thanks for doing this with us.
Yeah, absolutely.